In September, the summer heat still lingered at Jiqing University of Technology. Freshmen of the 2024 intake in the Department of Mechanical Engineering were sitting through the most nerve-wracking class meeting since enrollment. The source of all the commotion lay in a student financial aid application for more precisely, Pei Chang's financial aid application. Pei Chang, head teacher Ma Fengquan, pushed up his glasses, held the form up to his eyes, the curve of his mouth twisting as if sampling some ridiculous dish. Come up here. Pei Chang stood up from the very back row. He stood 183 centimeters tall, with a close-cropped buzz cut. His black t-shirt had faded to gray from countless washes, and white scuffs marked the knees of his jeans, yet his spine remained ramrod straight. His shoulders never swayed as he walked, each step steady and brisk. He cut a stark contrast to the slouched, lax postures of every other freshman in the room. Ma Fengquan paid no mind to any of that. His gaze was fixed on one line of text on the form. Under the section labeled Family Circumstances, Pei Chang had written just 4 characters. Both parents deceased. In the emergency contact field, he'd filled in a landline number. No mobile numbers for his father. No numbers for his mother. No information for any relatives at all. Ma Fengquan had worked as a head teacher for 12 years. Every year, students tampered with their forms to grab the 700 yuan grant. Some claimed their family's monthly income of 20,000 was only 2,000. Others described their villa as a dilapidated shanty, or their father's Mercedes-Benz as a scrapped van. He'd seen every trick in the book, but this was the first time a student had written both parents dead outright. Student Pei Chang. Ma Fengquan lifted his head. His voice was quiet, yet the classroom fell silent, carrying every word clearly to every ear. Are you certain there are no mistakes on this form? Pei Chang stood beside the podium, his expression blank. There's no mistake. Ma Fengquan nodded, flipped the form over, and tapped his finger against the 4 characters both parents deceased. Do you understand what writing this means? It means my parents are gone. Pei Chang spoke flatly, as casually as mentioning braised pork on the cafeteria menu that day. A few snickers rippled through the classroom. A boy in the front row wearing AirPods Pro twisted around to glance at him, a subtle smirk playing on his lips that read, "Dude, you've got some nerve." Ma Fengquan did not laugh. He set the form down, pulled out his phone, and typed the number listed under Pei Chang's emergency contact line by line. Pei Chang, it's not that I don't believe you. Ma Fengquan slowed his speech, as though sparing a thief caught red-handed a shred of dignity. But this situation is unusual, and school regulations require us to verify the details. Pei Chang glanced at the phone in his hand. You're going to call it? Yes. To confirm the information with your emergency contact. All right. The single word slipped out soft and weightless, laced with an indescribable undertone. Half suit yourself, half you've dug your own grave. Ma Fengquan caught none of the subtext. He hit dial, then made a decision the whole class would remember for the rest of their lives. He turned on speakerphone. The phone screen lit up, a monotonous dialing tone buzzing from the speaker. 53 pairs of eyes locked rigidly onto that mobile device. Some waited to watch Pei Chang embarrass himself. Others held their breath out of sympathy for him. The rest simply craved front row seats to the drama. Beep. Beep. Click. The call connected. A crisp, polished female automated voice hummed evenly from the speaker. Cold and professional. Hello. This is Jiqing Municipal Public Security Bureau. How may I assist you? The volume was low, yet each syllable hammered into the quiet classroom like nails driven into plaster walls. Ma Fengquan's fingers froze against the phone. The boy with AirPods in the front row gaped, his mouth forming a perfect ah shape. The entire classroom felt frozen mid-motion, as if someone had pressed pause. 53 people, 53 distinct expressions, yet every single face conveyed the exact same thought. Holy hell! Ma Fengquan blinked twice. He instinctively checked the number on his screen, then cross-referenced it with the digits printed on the form. They matched perfectly. Hello. Who's calling? What inquiry can we help you with? The bureau's voice repeated, edged with faint confusion. Ma Fengquan's lips twitched uselessly. Pei Chong slipped both hands into his trouser pockets, tilted his head to watch Ma Fengchuan, his gaze even tinged with a flicker of pity. "Teacher Ma," Pei Chong said. "Maybe you should hang up now." Ma Fengchuan said nothing. His fingers trembled as he pressed the end call button. A heavy silence hung over the room for roughly 5 seconds. Then a girl in the back row whispered, He wasn't lying." Her words dropped like a stone into stagnant water. Murmurs erupted instantly. He put the police station as his emergency contact. So his parents really are insane. I've lived 20 years and never heard of anyone listing a public security bureau as their emergency contact. How's the teacher going to recover from this? Ma Fengchuan's face flushed scarlet, drained pale, then flushed red all over again. He parted his lips, scrambling for words to salvage the moment, yet a lump lodged tight in his throat. Pei Chong stood unmoved, his features unchanged. He'd endured scenes a million times more awkward than this, like the day he'd wet his pants aged 6 in a criminal police unit's conference room. 8 burly officers crowding around him in a fluster to help him change clothes, or when he'd done his homework in a detention center cafeteria at 14, only for a prosecutor delivering meals to mistake him for an underage suspect. A teacher accidentally calling the police station. Small potatoes. The real storm was still on its way. Ma Fengchuan drew a deep breath, stuffed his phone back into his pocket, and forced a calm expression. "Pei Chong, return to your seat. We'll follow up on this matter later." Pei Chong hummed an acknowledgement and turned to walk back. But when he reached the 3rd row, his pocket vibrated. He pulled out his phone. The contact label read, "Third uncle." Pei Chong's brows knit together. He answered before he could utter a single word, and a booming middle-aged male voice exploded through the receiver loud enough for every student in the back rows to hear crystal clear. "Kid, who's been calling your number?" The duty room said someone phoned via directory inquiries asking about your emergency contact. "Are you in trouble? Where are you? Are you safe right now?" Pei Chong held the phone 2 centimeters away from his ear. "Third uncle. It's fine. It's just my teacher." "What teacher? Who? Did they hurt you? Stay put. I'm coming over right away. Send me your school address." "Truly nothing's." "Don't tell me it's nothing. Last time you said everything was fine. You'd fractured your wrist. I'll be there in 10 minutes flat." Click. The line cut dead. Pei Chong stared at the call-ended screen, his eyelid twitching once. This was bad. He slowly twisted his head to look at Ma Fengchuan. Ma Fengchuan stared back, his face a tangled mess of emotions. Pei Chong thought it best to give him a heads-up. "Teacher Ma." "Yes. A few vehicles might pull up outside shortly." "What vehicles?" "Police cars." Ma Fengchuan went rigid. Pei added, "Don't panic. He just overreacts easily." Ma Fengchuan tried to speak, yet his throat suddenly turned bone dry. He walked to the podium to pour a cup of water, his hand shaking so badly liquid sloshed down his cuff. The atmosphere in the classroom had completely shifted from a routine class meeting to a live reality show. All 53 students pulled out their phones, some snapping photos, others recording video, many firing off texts to their roommates. "Hurry to classroom 302. Teaching building 3. Our head teacher accidentally called the police station. Bring snacks. This drama's gonna stay legendary for years." 7 minutes later, a wailing sound drew closer and closer outside the windows. Police sirens. Not one siren, 3. The classroom sat on the 3rd floor, its windows overlooking the small plaza out front of the teaching building. 53 heads swiveled as one toward the glass. 3 blue and white police cruisers parked in a triangular formation at the building's entrance. Car doors flew open. The first officer to step out was a young man, in short-sleeved police uniform, barely 20, deeply tanned from field work. He sprinted forward, hand reaching for his waist holster. Is he grabbing a gun? This feels like a movie shoot. Next came a female police officer with a ponytail, her face set as if ready to charge straight into a burning building. The 3rd car's passenger door opened, and a man climbed out. He was around 40, buzz cut, his neck thick as a calf. Wearing a gray polo shirt dotted with pilling, clearly off-duty yet responding to an emergency, but his expression made every onlooker instinctively step back 3 paces. Jowls tight with rage, eyes blazing wide, veins bulging at his temples. His lips were pressed into a thin, rigid line. Jaw muscles clenched hard enough to crack stone. This man was Shin Tuo, deputy captain of the Criminal Investigation Division of Jicheng Municipal Public Security Bureau. Pei Chang's third uncle. Not blood-related uncle, but the man who'd raised him from the age of 3. Lifting him out of the bureau's infant cot every single day. Shin Tuo stormed into the teaching building at long strides, the sunburnt young officer trotting hastily behind him, yelling into his walkie-talkie as he ran. "Captain, wait a second. Let's sort out what's going on before." Shin Tuo ignored him entirely. Heavy footsteps thundered down the third-floor corridor, loud as tank treads. The door to classroom 302 crashed open. Bang! The door slammed hard against the wall, sending a jolt rippling through the whole room. Shin Tuo stood framed in the doorway, his sharp eyes sweeping over every student like searchlights. All 53 pupils froze stiff as statues. The water cup slipped almost out of Ma Fengquan's grip. Shin Tuo's gaze locked instantly onto Pei Chong in the back row. He studied Pei Chong for 2 full seconds, scanning him head to toe to head, satisfied that the boy had all his limbs intact. No fresh wounds, no tear-streaked cheeks. He twisted to face Ma Fengquan at the podium. Ma Fengquan would carry that stare in his memory forever. Shin Tuo spoke, his voice quiet yet each word ground out between gritted teeth. "Who made that phone call?" Ma Fengquan's Adam's apple bobbed wildly up and down. Pei Chong stood from the last row. "Third uncle. It's nothing serious. Just..." "I wasn't asking you." Shin Tuo lifted a hand to cut him off, never shifting his glare from Ma Fengquan. "Who dialed the bureau number? And why?" The silence in the classroom grew so thick you could hear water dripping from the air conditioning unit. Ma Fengquan's mouth fell open, then snapped shut again. His lips blanched white. 2. Ma Fengquan had lived through countless mortifying moments in his career, like his first year as head teacher, when he'd misread the name Zhuichun as Zhuichun, literally Zhu1 group. And the whole class had laughed at him for a full month. Or the parents' meeting where he'd pointed to a student and told a man beside him, "Your son dozes off non-stop in class." Only to discover the man was the parent of a child from another class. His actual student's mother had been sitting in the final row the entire time. Yet none of those embarrassments held a candle to today. A ferocious-looking deputy criminal investigation captain stood in his classroom doorway, staring him down with the icy intensity of interrogating a criminal suspect. 2 fully armed police officers flanked him behind. The corridor outside overflowed with students from other classes. Thousands of mobile phones held aloft, camera flashes strobing so brightly they blurred Ma Fengquan's vision. Ma Fengquan set down his water cup, scraped his fingers nervously against the podium, and cleared his throat. "Are you Pei Chang's relative, next of kin?" Shin Tuo stepped into the classroom, his heavy tread making the floorboards vibrate. The phrase "next of kin" carried an entirely different weight rolling off a criminal police captain's tongue than an ordinary civilian's. Ma Fengquan subconsciously took half a step backward. "It's like this. Earlier Ma Fengquan rushed to explain. "We're verifying information on new students' financial aid applications." Student Pei Chong filled in both parents deceased on his form. "So I rang the emergency contact number to double-check." "Double-check what?" Shin Tuo halted directly in front of the podium, less than a meter separating him from Ma Fengquan. He stood half a head taller, and as he stared down, Ma Fengquan caught whiffs of faint cigarette smoke and leather from his jacket. "Double-check whether the information was truthful." "It is truthful." Shin Tuo's tone flattened out, not a calm of relief, but a warning calm that promised he'd flip the table if Ma Fengquan dared ask one more invasive question. His father Pei Wenlu, his mother Ji Yunpei, sacrificed in the line of duty in March 2005. Both criminal police officers. First-class model martyrs. Pei Chong lost his parents aged 3. A group of us officers from the bureau took turns raising him. "Would you like me to have the archives department issue an official certification for you?" The temperature of his final sentence plummeted to freezing. The air in the classroom solidified. 53 pairs of eyes abandoned Ma Fengjuan entirely. Every single student's gaze fixed on Pei Chong. Pei Chong leaned one hand against the edge of his back row desk. His expression unchanging. But his left hand squeezed the hem of his school blazer so tight his knuckles whitened. He was not embarrassed. He hated being treated as someone worthy of pity. Ever since he could remember. Every time anyone learned his family story, they buried him under wave after wave of sympathy, compassion, and tiptoeing, overly gentle treatment. He'd grown sick of it. Third uncle, Pei Chang's voice carried across the quiet classroom from the back. It's fine. No big deal. Don't scare the teacher half to death. Chen Tuo twisted to glance at him. They locked eyes for roughly 3 seconds. Chen Tuo's rigid brows softened slightly. He drew a deep breath, turned back to face Ma Fengjuan, and pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket only to shove it back upon remembering they were inside a classroom. Teacher Ma. Is it? Yes. That's me. Verifying student information falls within your job duties. I won't fault you for that. Chen Tuo's tone strained back to a bearable civility. But dialing the bureau number on speakerphone in front of the entire class, do you think that was appropriate? Ma Fengjuan's lips trembled. He knew it had been wildly inappropriate. Before dialing, he'd convinced himself he was upholding fairness. The second the police station's voice came over the speaker, he'd realized the truth. He'd torn open an orphan's deepest wound for the whole class to gawk at. Ma Fengjuan's voice cracked hoarsely. I didn't think the situation through at the time. Didn't think it through. Chen Tuo repeated the 4 words flatly, laying no further accusation. Yet the faint twitch of his mouth stung worse than any scolding. Just then, rapid clicking of high heels echoed down the corridor. A middle-aged woman in a gray suit skirt strode briskly into the room. A bald, sweat-soaked janitor trailed close behind her. The woman was Han Ting, head of the mechanical engineering department. The bald man was Old Wang, the building caretaker. What's going on out front? Why are 3 police cars parked at the teaching building gate? Han Ting's voice shrill and rapid. She spotted Chen Tuo the instant she stepped through the door. And who might you be? Chen Tuo pulled out his official police ID and flashed it briefly. Han Ting's pupils shrank. She recognized the name instantly. Not from social connection, she'd seen him seated in the second row at the press conference for Jicheng's massive telecom fraud case the previous month. Captain S. Hen. Director Han. Chen Tuo's demeanor shifted seamlessly. Icy toward Ma Fengjuan. Neutral and polite toward the department head. Sorry for the disruption. This is all a misunderstanding. Teacher Ma called our bureau to verify a student's application details. And the duty team assumed an emergency situation. So they notified me immediately, verifying a student's details. Which student? Han Ting turned to Ma Fengjuan. Sweat beaded on Ma Fengjuan's forehead. He knew he was finished. Not because of Chen Tuo, but because of Han Ting. Han Ting protected her students fiercely to her core. You could criticize her pupils for bad grades, poor discipline, messy dorm hygiene, but you were never allowed to wound their dignity. And that was exactly what he'd just done, in front of the whole class. He'd questioned a martyr's orphan's grant application, all broadcast over speakerphone for everyone to hear. Ma Fengjuan wanted the ground to swallow him whole. As Han Ting listened to the full story unfold, her expression shifted 3 distinct shades in plain sight. First, shock learning Pei Chang's parents were fallen martyrs. Second, unbridled fury at Ma Fengjuan's reckless speakerphone call in front of the class. Third, a terrifying, tightly restrained calm. A quiet rage far more menacing than open anger. Teacher Ma. Han Ting's voice sharp and steady as a surgeon's scalpel. Does your office have security cameras? Pardon. When verifying a student's personal information, is standard protocol to handle it unknown in private, or put the call on speakerphone for the whole class to witness. Ma Fengjuan's mouth opened and closed uselessly. I will file a formal report about this incident with the Academic Affairs Office. Han Ting then turned to Pei Chong. Student Pei Chong. My sincere apologies. This was a grave oversight on the school's part. Pei Chong shook his head. Director Han. It's truly nothing Process the grant application following standard procedure. Please don't make special exceptions for me over this. He spoke the words calmly and evenly. Yet everyone present caught the underlying message loud and clear. He refused to be treated as a special case. Han Ting studied him for 2 seconds, then nodded slowly. Shin Tuo walked up to Pei Chong and slapped the back of his head lightly. The force was gentle, but the sound rang out loud. Kid, come to the precinct for dinner tonight. Aunt Wen's braised pork ribs. Okay. Also, change your emergency contact. Don't put the duty room anymore. Write down my cell number instead. Your phone dies every other day. Then put Xiao Su's number. Xiao Su dropped his phone in the river during a field assignment last time. Then Aunt Wen's number. Aunt Wen switched her number last month, said she'd been getting harassing calls. Chin Tuo drew a deep breath, the veins at his temples throbbing again. Then fill in a number people can actually reach you on. The duty room's staffed round the clock. It's the most reliable option. Chin Tuo was left speechless. He held his frustration in for 3 seconds, then grabbed Pei Chong by the collar and dragged him toward the door. Let's go. Get out of here, stop embarrassing yourself. I still have class. Forget your class. Your third uncle rolled up here with 3 police cruisers just to fetch you for school. Do you have any idea who's footing the gas bill? Finance at the bureau's gonna haul me in for a talk tomorrow. What's that got to do with me? You're the one who insisted on rushing over. Shut your mouth. Their argument echoed all the way from the classroom out into the corridor, then down the stairwell, fading into the distance. Silence hung over the classroom for roughly 10 seconds. Then someone spoke. Holy hell. A bald boy sitting in the back row muttered the words, his voice brimming with heartfelt awe. He put the police station as his emergency contact. Nah. His parents are first-class martyrs. Not just that, his uncle's the deputy captain of criminal investigation. And he brought 3 squad cars to pick him up. None of that matters. All he wanted was 700 yuan in grant money. The whole class sank into a tangled swirl of shock, absurdity, and pity. Meanwhile, Ma Fengchuan stood behind the podium, hands braced on the desk, staring at Pei Chang's financial aid application form. The handwriting was neat and orderly, as if someone had painstakingly taught him each stroke. Back at the police station, the 4 characters, both parents deceased, were crisp and straight-lined. Not a single sloppy mark to be seen. It looked as though he'd written those words countless times before. Ma Fengchuan's throat tightened with sorrow. The winter Pei Chong turned 3. Jiqing was hit by the heaviest snowfall of the season. He had no memory of that blizzard. Only fragmented impressions lingered in his mind, like being lifted out of bed by a pair of rough, calloused hands and wrapped in a stiff leather jacket. The jacket reeked of cigarette smoke, sweat, and a sharp, acrid scent he would later learn was gunpowder. Like a woman weeping, stifling her sobs as if afraid to wake him. Like heavy, hurried footsteps pounding up and down the corridor. That was the day his parents died in the line of duty. Chin Tuo, Aunt Wen, and the rest of the bureau staff filled in the rest of the story for him bit by bit over the years. Pei Wenlu and Ji Yunpei were both detectives with the Criminal Investigation Division of Jiqing Municipal Public Security Bureau. Back in 2005, they took part in a cross-provincial drug bust operation. Pei Wenlu was run over by a drug trafficker's vehicle during a pursuit, while Ji Yunpei was shot while shielding her injured teammates. They passed away 40 minutes apart. Pei Chong was only 3 years old. No relatives were able to take him in, not out of unwillingness, but circumstance. Pei Wenlu had grown up an orphan, and Ji Yunpei's family lived in a remote mountain village 1,000 miles away. Her elderly mother simply lacked the means to raise a toddler. So the bureau held an emergency meeting. Word had it the debate raged on for 3 hours. Their final verdict: the entire division would raise the boy together. That was how Pei Chong became the unofficial ward of Jiqing's Criminal Investigation Division. He spent his childhood wandering every corner of the police station. From age 3 to 6, his nursery was a camp cot tucked into the corner of Shintuo's office. Above it hung case analysis whiteboards. Beside it stood an evidence cabinet, and cigarette butts were always scattered across the floor at the foot of the bed. He learned to walk in the division's conference room. He learned to ride a bicycle along the corridor outside the forensic examination lab. He ate his first bowl of plain noodle soup in the detention center cafeteria, cooked by a chef with 20 years of experience. The broth was rich and the noodles tender, oil smearing all over Pei Chang's mouth. The cook squatted beside him, watching him eat until his eyes crinkled shut with laughter. He did his homework at the metal desks in the detective unit. When he struggled with math, the officers on night shift tutored him. When Chinese characters stumped him, the civilian female clerks stepped in. No one knew enough English to help, so the whole unit huddled around their phones to look up translations together. Parent-teacher conferences never saw just one guardian show up. Chin Tuo went the first time. When the homeroom teacher asked about their relationship, he simply said, "I'm his uncle." The next day Pei Chong came home saying the teacher wanted to meet his mother. So Aunt Wen dressed in a floral dress and headed to school. When the teacher questioned who she was, she replied calmly, "A family aunt." From then on, every homeroom teacher who taught Pei Chong grew accustomed to one truth: his guardian would never be the same person twice. Sometimes it was a burly buzzcut man, sometimes a ponytailed female police officer, sometimes a retired elder wearing reading glasses. Once, 3 guardians arrived at once. The teacher panicked, convinced they'd come to arrest a student. Pei Chong summed up his unusual family life simply: "I've got lots of moms and dads." "So you grew up inside a police station?" Back in the dorm, Bei leaned over the edge of his upper bunk, staring down at Pei Chong mid-chew of spicy gluten strips, chili oil dripping down his chin. Pei Chong sorted through his locker. He owned very few belongings: 2 sets of spare clothes, a pair of sneakers, a wash bag, and an old backpack. Everything was arranged with the crisp order of an evidence cabinet at the precinct. "Holy crap. Is that for real?" Fong Baizhou set his phone down from the opposite bunk. "Does that mean you've known how to interrogate criminals since you were little?" "I don't interrogate suspects." "Then what can you do?" Pei Chong thought for a second. "Tell when someone's lying." "How?" "Earlier when you claimed you scored 130 on the college entrance English exam, you touched your nose with your right hand and glanced up and to your left." Fong Baizhou's face paled instantly. "What did you actually get?" Bei pressed from above. 92. Fong Baizhou's voice shrank to a mumble. "Also," Pei Chong continued tidying his cabinet, "you called your mom earlier saying you had no money for food. But I caught a glimpse of your phone screen. Your Alipay balance is 3,700 yuan. Fong Baizhou slammed his phone face down onto his bed. Bei leaned half his torso out from the upper bunk, dropping his spicy gluten strip onto Pei Chong's pillow. "Dude, are you some kind of X-ray vision human lie detector?" "It's just observation. I watched detectives conduct interrogations for years. You pick up little tells. Test me. Am I lying about anything?" Bei asked excitedly. Pei Chong glanced up at him. "You said your girlfriend goes to the university next door. But your phone lock screen is an anime girl. You've even got the same character printed on your boxers." Bei grabbed his quilt and yanked it down to cover his lower body in a panic. "Wait, you even saw my underwear. You bent over to grab something a minute ago. It slipped out." Fong Baizhou and Bei exchanged a look. Identical emotions washed over both their faces: awe, unease, and a quiet despair that all their privacy was gone forever. "Brother Pei." Fong Baizhou held both hands up in surrender. "From today on, you're the boss of this dorm. Help yourself to all my snacks. I'll give you the Wi-Fi password. And I'll split half the cured meat my mom sent me with you. I don't want to be the boss." "Then at least promise you'll stop studying all our little tells." "I'll try." Pei Chong folded his last piece of clothing, tucked it into the locker, and shut the door. As he turned, his gaze drifted inadvertently toward the window. Down by the teaching building, a silver sedan was parked along the curb. The window was rolled halfway down, revealing a young woman's face. Short hair, small stud earrings, a sharp defined jawline. She held a camera pointed straight at their dormitory wing. The lens was aimed directly at their dorm window. Pei Chong narrowed his eyes. The woman's hand froze for a split second, as if realizing she'd been spotted. She quickly stowed the camera and rolled up her window. The silver sedan revved its engine and drove out of the campus. Pei Chong watched the car vanish for 3 full seconds before looking away. What's wrong? Hubei asked. Nothing. Pei Chong drew the curtains closed. Week 3 of the semester. A major incident swept through the 2024 mechanical engineering cohort. The protagonist of the drama was not Pei Chong. It was Qian Jincheng, a Class 1 student whose father owned a mining operation. On move-in day, he arrived in a white Porsche Cayenne, 3 crates of Matai liquor stuffed in the trunk not for drinking, but to build a good rapport with academic advisors. Pei Chong barely registered his existence, but Qian Jincheng had taken note of Pei Chong. Specifically, the story of 3 police cruisers showing up to fetch him during the class meeting. News spread around campus faster than light squared. Pei Chang's story stayed pinned to the university forum for an entire week, with increasingly outlandish headlines. Mechanical freshman homeroom teacher embarrasses himself live. Student escorted to class by police. What rank is his family? A heartwarming tale of Jiqing, martyr's orphan raised at the police station. After scrolling through the threads, Qian Jincheng scoffed loudly. A martyr's orphan. He's still just a kid with no parents. So poor he's begging for a 700 yuan grant. Yet he acts like he's hot stuff. He'd said it loud enough for the surrounding tables in the cafeteria to hear, including Pei Chong, who was eating braised pork at the next table over. Pei Chong chewed his meat, swallowed, and never lifted his head. Hubei's chopsticks tightened in his grip. Furious, Fong Baizhou kicked Hubei under the table and shot him a warning. Lieutenant, start a fight. Receiving no reaction, Qian Jincheng lost interest, grabbed his tray, and left. But the trouble didn't end there. Week 4 brought a minor mechanical drafting quiz hosted by the department. Pei Chong scored 94, third highest in the grade. Qian Jincheng scored 97, top of the whole cohort. The day the results were posted, Qian Jincheng stood before the bulletin board, snapped a photo of his score, and posted it to his WeChat Moments with the caption, "If you've got real skill, prove it on the exam paper. Don't rely on a sob story to go viral." He never named names. Yet the comments section flooded with knowing snickers and laughing emojis. Pei Chong passed the bulletin board and glanced at the ranking sheet. Then he spotted something tiny, so subtle 99% of people would overlook it entirely. Qian Jincheng's exam paper was displayed behind glass on the board, a department tradition. The top 3 papers go on public display for a week. Pei Chong stood before the display for roughly 15 seconds. His eyes swept from the top left corner to the bottom right, finally settling on the drafting section for question 4. The task required drawing 3 orthographic views of a mechanical part. Qian Jincheng's drawing was flawlessly neat, unnaturally, suspiciously neat. Pei Chong turned and walked away without a word. That night back in the dorm, he borrowed a mechanical pencil from Fong Baizhou. "Aren't you already carrying one?" Fong Baizhou asked. "Mine's 0.7 millimeters lead. I need a 0.5. What for?" "Testing something." Pei Chong took the pencil and drew a set of orthographic views on a blank sheet of paper. He held his sketch side by side with the photo of Qian Jincheng's quiz paper he'd saved on his phone. Hubei leaned over to peer at the screen. "What are you comparing?" At every line turn on his drawing, there's a tiny drag mark. Then the line shifts its path by 0.3 to 0.5 millimeters. Pei Chong pointed to a spot on the photo. "What does that even mean?" "It means he didn't draw freehand. He used an aid, not a standard ruler, which exam rules permit. He used a pre-cut transparent plastic template." "A template." "Exactly. Clear plastic sheets pre-etched with standard orthographic view outlines. You slide them under your paper and trace along the edges. They leave no obvious smudges, but the start and bend of every line carry unique traces. Human hand movement doesn't match the drag of a pencil gliding along a rigid plastic edge." Fong Baizhou and Hubei both gasped in shock. "How do you even know about that stuff?" "Master Yi from the Technical Investigation Unit taught me. He used to specialize in handwriting and document analysis." Hubei slowly sat up straight. "Wait a second, are you saying Qian Jincheng cheated to get that 97? Pei Chong zoomed the photo in on the line bends. "I can't confirm it yet. I'd need the original paper to be certain." "So what are you gonna do? Report him?" Pei Chong paused to think. "No. Why not? I don't have solid proof. Photos aren't enough. I need the physical exam paper. Besides, reporting someone requires motive. I've got no grudge against him. But he mocked you for playing up your tragic backstory. He can talk all he wants. I've got my braised pork to enjoy. Pei Chong locked his phone screen, climbed onto his bunk, and went to sleep. He had no idea this matter would blow up spectacularly all on its own exactly 1 week later. A week later, the mechanical engineering department held an open drafting competition. Participation was voluntary. The prizes were a professional drawing tablet and a 1,000 yuan bookstore gift card. Qian Jincheng signed up first thing. Pei Chong never registered. Bei had signed him up without asking. Are you out of your mind? Pei Chong stared at the confirmation text on his phone. Bro, 1,000 yuan book voucher. You're always complaining how expensive the major textbooks are. I can borrow them from the library. The library only has 2 copies of Fundamentals of Mechanical Design. One got soaked in instant noodle broth. The other got chewed up by a stray dog. Competition day arrived. And the lecture hall was packed full of students, not out of genuine enthusiasm for drafting. Qian Jincheng had boasted beforehand. All skilled draftsmen are welcome to challenge me. If anyone beats me, I'll treat the entire department to hot pot. Pei Chong showed up last, wearing his faded grayish-black t-shirt, hands stuffed in his pockets as he wandered in. A low murmur rippled through the hall. The kid escorted by 3 police cruisers had arrived. Qian Jincheng sat in the front row and glanced back at Pei Chong, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. The competition task was simple. Given a physical mechanical component, contestants had 40 minutes to draw its 3 orthographic views and a cross-section view. Pei Chong picked up the component, twisted it to examine all angles, and set it down on his desk. Then he began drawing. He worked slowly but steadily. Every single line was drawn in one unbroken stroke. No erasures. No hesitant retouches. His wrist barely moved as he drew. He controlled every curve and angle through tiny fine adjustments of his fingers alone. It was a skill he'd picked up over a decade watching Master Yi from Technical Investigation. Yi had worked crime scene reconstructions back in the day, sketching crime scenes faster than a printer could output them. 40 minutes passed. Pei Chong handed in his paper 8 minutes early. Qian Jincheng submitted his work 3 minutes before the deadline. 3 senior professors from the department served as judges and graded the papers on the spot. When the final scores were announced, the lecture hall fell silent for a beat. Pei Chong, 96 points. Qian Jincheng, 91 points. Qian Jincheng's score had plummeted 6 full points compared to the quiz. A bad day could explain a small drop on an in-class quiz, but this live competition score told the whole truth, with no hidden template tools to rely on. His actual skill level was laid bare for everyone to see. Murmurs of gossip erupted across the room. Qian Jincheng's face drained of color. He stood up, lips parting as if to argue, but he only pressed his jaw tight and turned to leave. As he reached the doorway, his shoulder knocked clumsily against the doorframe. It wasn't intentional. His hands were shaking too badly to steady himself. Pei Chong paid him no mind. His gaze was fixed on the judge's table, among the 3 elderly professors. The white-haired elder sitting in the middle held both Qian Jincheng's competition paper and Pei Chang's side by side for comparison. A deep frown creased the old professor's forehead. He retrieved Qian Jincheng's displayed quiz paper as well and laid it alongside the competition draft. Then he slipped off his reading glasses and muttered 4 words to the professor beside him. Words Pei Chong read effortlessly by lip reading. Inconsistent drafting strokes. 3 days later, an official notice was posted outside the department office. After thorough verification, Qian Jincheng was found guilty of cheating on the mechanical drafting quiz by using prefabricated drawing templates. His quiz score was voided, and he received a formal disciplinary demerit on his academic record. At noon the day the notice went up, Pei Chong sat in the cafeteria eating braised pork. Fong Baizhou and Bei sat across from him, their expressions a perfect mix of shock and awe. Brother. Bei slid his phone across the table. Photos of the notice had spread to every class group chat in the department. Did you know this would happen all along? Pei Chong picked up a chunk of pork with his chopsticks. Then why didn't you report him yourself? I told you. I had no concrete proof. I only spotted oddities in his line were no way to prove he used a template. This live competition was different. Strip away his cheating tools. Let his real skill show through. And the stark contrast with his quiz score would make the professors suspicious on their own. So the real reason you joined the contest. The book voucher. Pei Chong finished chewing his meat and spoke earnestly. 1,000 yuan gift card buys 6 core major textbooks. Bei and Fong Bei's. OU exchanged a glance. Identical looks of reverent speechlessness washed over both their faces. This guy had never cared about exposing a cheater or settling a grudge. From start to finish, he'd only wanted to save money on books. The Qian Jincheng incident blew up into a huge scandal. How big was it? His father called the department office from out of town. His tone sharp and displeased. My son only used a stencil to draw. Is this punishment really necessary? A disciplinary demerit will ruin his chances of being recommended for postgraduate studies. Han Ting answered the call. After listening, she said only one sentence. Mr. Qian. Cheating on exams carries this exact penalty at every university nationwide. If you dispute the result, you may file an appeal through official channels. Then she hung up. Qian Jincheng quieted down for 2 days. Before he set about spreading rumors, he told everyone he met that Pei Chong had reported him. That sob story orphan's just jealous of my good grades and set a dirty trap to take me down. Pei Chong heard these words while running laps on the sports field. A 5-kilometer run. Non-negotiable every single day. A habit forged growing up around criminal police officers. One he could never shake. Bro, aren't you mad? Bei gasped, struggling to keep up behind him. Why would I be mad at him? He's claiming you schemed against him. The professors spotted the inconsistent line work all on their own. It's got nothing to do with me, but he's telling everyone. Let him talk. Pei Chong maintained his steady pace, his breathing as regular as a metronome. Does anyone believe him? Bei thought about it. Turns out no one really bought it. By this point, Pei Chang's reputation across the whole department was no longer just the kid escorted by 3 police cars. He was known as the stoic powerhouse. A man of few words who consistently placed top 3 in exams and could run 20 circuits of the sports field without breaking a sweat. Qian Jincheng's rumors circulated for 3 days without stirring up a single ripple, but trouble arrived on the 4th day. Not from Qian Jincheng, but from Pei Chang's extended police family showing up again. Tuesday afternoon, Pei Chong sat through a mechanics of materials lecture. 3 knocks echoed on the classroom door. Professor Li, the lecturer, walked over to open it. A woman in her 50s stood outside, round-faced, slightly plump, her hair coiled into an immaculate bun, dressed in a burgundy cardigan. When she smiled, her eyes crinkled like a warm neighborhood aunt, but something hung clipped to her waist. A black leather holster with a metal buckle, unmistakable for what it held. May I ask who you're looking for? Professor Li inquired. I'm here for Pei Chong. The woman replied gently. So sorry to interrupt your class. I'm his family member. I've brought him some things. Professor Li glanced back toward Pei Chong. Pei Chong had already stood up, a strange twitch tugging at the corner of his mouth. And when he walked to the doorway. This was when Ruahui, captain of the General Affairs Unit under Jicheng Public Security Bureau's Public Security Division. She'd been Pei Chang's weekend mother from age 5 to 10. Every Friday she'd pick him up to stay at her home for 2 days, cooking for him, washing his clothes, and checking his homework. Kid, the weather's turned cold, so I brought you a few extra layers. When Ruahui hefted 2 large tote bags and leaned her head into the classroom. Hello everyone. Terribly sorry for the disruption. Pei Chong quickly took the bags from her hands. You can just leave them here. Hold on. Let me check if you've lost weight. When Ruahui grabbed his arm, scanning him head to toe, her brows furrowing. You've thinned out. Is the cafeteria food that bad? Your third uncle topped up your meal card with 2,000 yuan. How are you still losing weight? And one. I'm in the middle of class. Class or not, you still need to eat. When Ruahui pulled an insulated food bucket out of the bag, lotus root and pork rib soup. Drink it while it's hot. Then she pulled out a second thermos bucket. This one's from Xiao's braised beef noodles. He said it was your favorite as a little boy. A third insulated bucket followed. Osmanthus cake baked by Forensic Zhou's wife. For you to try. The 60 students watched the lineup of steaming food buckets pile up beside the podium, falling dead silent as a group. Hubei whispered from the back row. Is she here to deliver meals or set up a cafeteria? When Ruohui finally emptied everything from her bags and patted Pei Chang's shoulder. All right. Off to class you go. Come over for dinner this weekend. I've marinated pork trotters. Okay. Oh, one more thing. When Ruohui turned back at the door, your third uncle mentioned a student named Qian Jincheng's been speaking ill of you. Do you want us officers to step in and talk to the school? No need. Pei Chang's reply came as fast as a reflex. Fine. Fine. As long as you can handle it yourself. When Ruohui waved her hand. I'll be off then. Also, your fifth uncle Old He from the Provincial Public Security Department will be coming to Jiqing on a business trip next week. He said he'll swing by to see you. Make time to grab a meal with him while he's here. Pei Chong closed his eyes for a split second. Provincial Public Security Department. Why is he coming to see me? He wants to check out your university dorm. Wonders if that small desk lamp he bought you all those years ago still works. I still use it. When Ruohui smiled in satisfaction. Bowing respectfully to Professor Li. I'm truly sorry for holding up your lesson, sir. With that, she bustled away. Professor Li watched her figure vanish down the corridor before turning back to face the class. Every pair of eyes fixed on him. His gaze drifted to the row of insulated buckets by the podium. 2 seconds of silence passed. Class. Professor Li pushed up his glasses. I've taught for 20 years. And this is the first time I've seen a student's guardian set up a self-serve buffet mid-lecture. The whole classroom burst into laughter. Pei Chong did not laugh. He stacked the 3 thermoses neatly, returned to his seat, and opened his textbook. Fong Baizhou leaned over toward him. Your fifth uncle works at the provincial department. MHM. What's his rank? Better not ask. How many uncles and aunts do you have? Anyway. Pei Chong paused to count earnestly in his head. The ones I keep regular contact with. Around 11. Fong Baizhou's jaw dropped open and stayed hanging. After class, Pei Chong carried the 3 insulated buckets back to the dormitory. As he walked past the teaching building parking lot, he spotted the silver sedan again. This time the window stayed rolled up. But Pei Chong caught sight of a long-focus camera resting on the passenger seat. Its lens pointed straight toward the teaching building. He stood still for 5 seconds. Then pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Third uncle. Someone's been photographing me near campus lately. Silver sedan. Plate number GA7E829. Shintuo's voice instantly turned grim on the other end of the line. Man or woman? Woman. Short hair. Around 20 years old. Leave it to me. I'll run the plates. The car's owner was Ji Qinghe, a third-year student in the journalism school of Jiqing University. Intern reporter for the campus edition of Jiqing Youth News. She'd set her sights on Pei Chong for no malicious reason. She was working on a feature story. Her feature's working title, The Hidden Lives of Jiqing Police Officers' Families. After Pei Chang's 3 police car incident went viral online, her editor sent her the forum link with an assignment. Dig into this boy's story. A piece focusing on the child of fallen martyrs would make powerful in-depth reporting. Ji Qinghe looked up Pei Chang's background files. And what she found stunned her. Pei Wenlu and Ji Yunpaitun names marked as first-class public security martyrs, killed in the line of duty back in 2005, leaving behind their 3-year-old son. It was an incredible story. So moving she hesitated to start writing right away. She feared turning it into cheap tear-jerking clickbait that exploited his suffering for views. So she resolved to observe him first. For 2 weeks she watched from a distance until she realized her secret surveillance was anything but hidden. Thursday evening, Ji Qinghe sorted her interview notes in a cafe near campus. The shop door swung open. A middle-aged man in a gray polo shirt strode inside and sat straight down across from her. He had a broad, imposing face, a neck thick as a calf, and eyes sharp enough to cut steel. Ji Qinghe nearly dropped her coffee mug in shock. Ji Qinghe. The man spoke. Third-year journalism student at Jiqing University. Intern at Jiqing Youth News. ID number 3301. Stop. 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 Ji Qinghe held up both hands. Who are you? How do you have all my personal information? Chin Tuo. Criminal Investigation Division. He flashed his police ID briefly. I've pulled your license plate, mobile number, and residential address. I'm not here to arrest you. I just need to ask, why have you been following Pei Chong? Ji Qinghe's heart skipped a beat. It took her 3 full seconds to steady her nerves. I wasn't following him, she said, her voice leveling out. I'm researching a news feature. What's the feature about? The life and upbringing of children whose parents died as public security martyrs. Chin Tuo stared at her for 5 unbroken seconds. In that span, Ji Qinghe felt as though an X-ray scanner was sweeping her from head to toe. You intend to write about Pei Chong? I do, but I haven't contacted him directly yet, because I haven't finalized the angle for the story. I've only been observing his daily routine to decide whether to move forward with the piece. Chin Tuo fell silent. He pulled a cigarette pack from his pocket, drew one out, spotted the cafe's no-smoking sign, and stuffed it back again. Your surname is Ji, he said. Yes. Pei Chang's mother was named Ji Yunpei. Ji Qinghe froze for a moment. Same surname. Chin Tuo's tone carried an unreadable undertone. Quite the coincidence. I checked the family genealogy. We shouldn't share any blood relation. I already ran that check too. Another stretch of quiet hung between them. Chin Tuo sighed and leaned back against his chair. Reporter Ji, let me lay this out clearly. I won't stand in your way if you want to produce legitimate, respectful journalism, but 3 hard lines you cannot cross. Please tell me what they are. First, do not disclose the specific details of the operation Pei Wenlu and Ji Yunpei lost their lives carrying out. Parts of that case remain classified to this day. Second, never publish Pei Chang's residential address or any detailed personal identifiers. Third, Chin Tuo paused mid-sentence. Third, you must ask Pei Chong for his consent first. If he refuses, this story ends here entirely. Ji Qinghe looked across the table at this burly, gruff middle-aged man, her throat tightening. It wasn't fear that gripped her. It was a familiar weight in his voice, the same protective resolve she'd heard in her own father's speech. I understand, she said quietly. Then go speak to Pei Chong directly. Chin Tuo stood up. If he agrees to your interview, you may proceed, but if you dare twist the truth or fabricate anything. He left the threat unspoken, yet the unfinished implication carried far more weight than any completed warning ever could. The next day, Pei Chong ate lunch alone in the cafeteria. Braised pork. Naturally. Braised pork again. Without fail. Every single day. A figure pulled out the chair opposite him and sat down. He lifted his head. Short hair. Small stud earrings. A crisp jawline. Thin-rimmed glasses perched on her nose. She held a plate of tomato and egg stir-fry in her hands. Pei Chong. MHM. My name's Ji Qinghe. From Jiqing University's journalism school. The silver sedan you spotted lingering near campus belongs to me. Pei picked up a chunk of pork and chewed it slowly. I know. My third uncle ran your plates and looked you up. A faint twitch pulled at Ji Qinghe's mouth. I'd like to conduct an interview with you. You have every right to turn me down. Pei Chong studied her, his gaze calm and methodical, like scanning a witness's tells during questioning. Ji Qinghe grew uncomfortable under his stare and subconsciously shifted her bowl a little further away. What angle will your interview take? Pei Chong asked. I want to document what it's like growing up as the child of martyrs. No over-dramatized sad narratives. No manipulative emotional baiting. I want to write honestly about your childhood raised inside a police station. Your everyday real life. Who will read this? Jiqing Youth News. Campus edition circulation is small. If you don't want too many people recognizing you, I can publish the piece under a pseudonym only. Pei Chong bowed his head and took 2 mouthfuls of rice. Ji Qinghe did not rush him for an answer. After finishing his last piece of braised pork, Pei Chong pushed his empty bowl aside. Use a pseudonym, he stated. All right. No photographs of me included. Understood. You may print my parents' full names, but leave out all operational case details. My third uncle already explained the restrictions. He's already spoken to me about that. Then we can proceed. Pei Chong stood and picked up his tray. When do you want to conduct the interview? When are you free? Saturday afternoon. Where shall we meet? Pei Chong thought for a second. There's a quiet park behind the campus. Very few visitors. That works for me. Ji Qinghe watched him carry his tray toward the waste collection station. His gait steady, spine perfectly straight. She glanced down at her untouched tomato and egg stir-fry. It had gone cold. Still, a small soft smile tugged at her lips. This boy had an odd quiet aura. He spoke almost nothing, yet every word he said landed solid and deliberate, like hammer strikes driving nails home. No more, no less. She pulled her gaze away, stuck her chopsticks into the rice bowl, and noticed her palms had broken out in a thin layer of sweat. She stared at her damp palms for 2 seconds, wiped them off on her trousers, and picked up her bowl to eat. After 2 bites, she paused once more. She glanced up toward the doorway where Pei Chong had disappeared. Eat, she murmured to herself. Friday night brought trouble to the dormitory building. A laptop was stolen from room 407. Shortly after, a portable power bank vanished from room 503. Then a girl in room 202. There were female mechanical engineering students, though only 8 across the entire grade reported 300 yuan cash missing from her desk drawer. 7 separate thefts occurred within 3 days. The dorm supervisor called the police. 2 officers from the local police station arrived, took witness statements, and pulled the corridor surveillance footage. The cameras were broken. Every hallway camera covering floors 3 through 5 in dorm building 2 had malfunctioned exactly 1 week prior, and no one had come to repair them. The 2 officers exchanged helpless glances. No functional surveillance. No eyewitnesses. Break-ins scattered across all hours day and night, and no obvious signs of forced lockpicking at any of the dorm doors. This case will be difficult to investigate for now, the younger officer told the dorm supervisor. Advise all students to lock up valuables securely, and we will increase patrol rounds around the building. The dorm supervisor's face darkened with worry. Pei Chong heard the news mid-shower. Kwabei banged on the bathroom door, shouting through the wood. Bro, thieves hit our dorm building. Pei Chong shut off the shower hose and wiped shampoo foam from his hair. What got stolen? Laptops, power banks, cash. 7 rooms robbed total. Are the corridor security cameras functional? Broken. Went down a whole week ago. Pei Chong wrapped a towel around his shoulders and stepped out of the bathroom, glancing up at the camera lens mounted on the hallway wall. The camera tilted roughly 15 degrees upward, pointed straight at the ceiling instead of the corridor walkway. It's not broken on its own, Pei Chong said flatly. Someone physically twisted it out of alignment. Look at the mounting base, fresh scratch marks. The paint scraped right off the metal screws. Kwabei leaned in to examine the fixture, his eyes widening in shock. The scratches were there, faint and easy to miss if you weren't looking closely. Someone sabotaged the cameras first, then started stealing. Pei Chong slung the towel over one shoulder. And this is an inside job. No lockpick marks mean either the thief had spare keys, or the dorm rooms were left unlocked. Do most students leave their doors open during the day? All the time. Barely anyone bothers locking up. Exactly. When everyone's in class, entire floors sit empty. The thief only needs to confirm a room's vacant before pushing the door open and walking right in. How do you know it's just one culprit acting alone? 7 thefts with wildly different stolen goods, electronics, and cash mixed together. If multiple thieves were working together, they'd split roles clearly, like one only stealing phones, another only cash. This random mix of items points to a single person grabbing whatever they happen across. Kwabei listened utterly dumbfounded. Fong Baizhou poked his head out from under his quilt. Bro, did you come to university to study mechanical engineering or solve crime cases? I came here to study, Pei Chong replied. walking over to his bunk and opening his storage locker. Alongside his clothes and textbooks sat a single pack of instant noodles braised beef flavor. His monthly snack budget only covered 4 packs total, and this was the last one left. He swung the locker door open and froze. The instant noodles were gone. Pei Chong stood motionless, staring at the empty space in his cabinet for 3 full seconds. He closed the locker door softly. His voice carried a subtle, dangerous calm that sent chills through Hubei and Fong Baizhou. "Someone took my noodles," Pei Chong said. "What?" "Braised beef flavor. My last pack." Hubei and Fong Baizhou shared a wordless glance. The look said it all. They'd crossed his unbreakable bottom line. It took Pei Chong a day and a half to track down the thief. His methods were remarkably straightforward. Step 1. He paced the corridor twice, studying the shoes lined outside every dorm doorway. "Why are you staring at everyone's shoes?" Hubei trailed after him. "Dorm hallway floors are terrazzo. They collect dust easily. If someone regularly wanders a floor that isn't theirs, their shoe soles pick up unique dust from that level. Each floor's terrazzo has different wear patterns and grit textures. You can tell dust from different floors apart. Not visually, but I can smell the residue. Smell it." Floor 3 has a trash bin by the stairwell that's often left overflowing. Spilled instant noodle broth soaks into the terrazzo and leaves a distinct odor. If a 5th floor student's shoes reek of 3-floor noodle soup broth, they've been hanging around floor 3 constantly. Hubei's mouth fell open, speechless. Step 2. Pei Chong taped a single strand of hair across the bottom edge of his dorm door frame. If anyone pushes the door open, the hair will snap clean in two. Step 3. He placed a brand new pack of instant noodles inside his locker as bait. Setting a trap? Fong Baizhou asked. A noodle trap. When they returned after class the next noon, the hair strand was broken. The new pack of noodles remained in place, yet the empty spot where his last original pack had sat was shifted roughly 2 centimeters. Someone had entered the room, glanced at the bait, chosen not to take it, and left. Why didn't they steal the new pack? They already took 1 pack yesterday. Grabbing another would draw too much attention. They'll wait 2 or 3 days to come back. But they left evidence behind. Pei Chong knelt down to inspect the bottom of his locker. A faint shoe print, barely visible to the naked eye, but caught at an angle by slanting sunlight. The faint tread pattern on the terrazzo floor became clear. Size 44 sneakers. Heavy wear on the outer edge of the sole, meaning the wearer walks with an outward splay of the feet. I've observed 3 tall guys on our floor with that gait. Then what? Eliminate suspects one by one. One of the 3 went home for the weekend with a solid alibi. Another injured his foot last week and hasn't left his dorm once. That leaves the 3rd person. Room 506. Gao Yu. I checked his shoes outside his door. His soles carry that sour 3-floor noodle broth stench. And he's a 5th floor resident with 0 scheduled classes on floor 3 all week. Pei Chong stood up and brushed dust off his palms. Let's go. Where to? Speak to the dorm supervisor. Half an hour later, the dorm supervisor and Pei Chong stood outside room 506. The door opened. Gao Yu, 185 centimeters tall, size 44 feet. The burly student with the splayed foot walked blanched the second he laid eyes on the supervisor and Pei Chong. Pei Chong said nothing. His gaze swept briefly over Gao Yu's desk. A stack of textbooks sat atop the surface, and a charging cable peeked out from underneath them, its exact color and model matching the stolen laptop cord from room 407. The dorm supervisor spotted it too. Student Gao. That cable. Gao Yu's Adam's apple bobbed nervously. 15 minutes later, police officers from the station arrived. Inside Gao Yu's locker, they recovered 3 laptops, 2 portable power banks, 600 yuan cash, and 1 pack of instant noodles, braised beef flavor. A tiny, visible twitch tugged at the corner of Pei Chang's eye when he saw the noodles. That's mine. He pointed the pack out to the police officer. The officer glanced between Pei Chong and the instant noodles, fighting a grin. Understood. We'll return it to you once statements are finalized. Pei Chong nodded and turned to leave. Behind him, Hubei whispered to Fong Baizhou. He really cracked this whole serial theft case just over a pack of instant noodles. Fong Baizhou drew a deep breath. I believe it now. This guy's absolute red line is his braised beef noodles. After the dorm theft ring was solved, Pei Chang's fame on campus reached new heights. He'd gone from the kid with 3 police cars to campus legend Instant Noodle Sherlock. A viral forum post blew up overnight. Shock. Freshman mechanical engineering student solves serial dorm thefts by smelling shoe soles. 3,000 comment threads flooded beneath it, and over 10,000 likes piled up. Pei Chang skimmed the headline once, then locked his phone screen. "I didn't smell shoe soles," he said flatly. "But the post title says you did." Kwabei squatted beside him scrolling the thread. "I smelled the shoes themselves, not the soles. There's a difference. Netizens won't care about that distinction." Pei Chang chose to ignore the online hype entirely, but school officials took notice. Zhou Qingxiu, deputy director of the Student Affairs Office, personally visited the mechanical engineering department to present Pei Chang with a Campus Safety Contribution Award. The reward package included an official certificate and a Fevethuzandiyuan scholarship. Han Ting delivered the news to Pei Chang while he sat in the library reading the watered, imaged copy of Fundamentals of Mechanical Design that had been soaked in instant noodle broth months prior. 5,000 yuan. Pei Chang flipped a page of the textbook without looking up. 5,000. Exactly. Pei Chang paused to consider it. "Do I have to walk onto a stage for the award ceremony?" "Yes. It's a school-wide recognition assembly. Will I need to give a speech?" "It would be appropriate to say a few words." "Then I don't want the award." Han Ting's eyelid twitched. "Pei Chang. This is 5,000 yuan. Director Han. I'd have to stand up on stage and speak in front of hundreds of strangers." They locked eyes for 3 full seconds. Han Ting exhaled heavily. "You won't need to give a speech. Simply walk up to collect your certificate. I'd still be on display in front of hundreds of people for a minute. Treat it like standing on a shelf for 60 seconds. I don't want to be put on display." Han Ting's temples began throbbing painfully. "Pei Chang. Director Han. 5,000 yuan. Do you have any idea how many packs of instant noodles that would buy?" Pei Chang's hand froze mid-page turn. He did a quick mental calculation. At the convenience store by the campus gate, braised beef instant noodles cost 4.5 yuan per pack. 5,000 yuan would buy 1,111 packs. Eating 1 pack daily. That would last 3 years and 16 days straight. A clear flicker of hesitation crossed Pei Chang's face. No speech required. None at all. No handshakes with school administrators. We can arrange to skip formal handshakes. No photos printed in the university journal. I'll do my best to avoid it. Pei Chang closed his textbook shut. "Fine. I'll accept the award." The award ceremony was scheduled for the following Wednesday. Before that day arrived, another person sought Pei Chang out. Ji Qinghe. Saturday afternoon. At the quiet park behind campus, Ji Qinghe arrived 10 minutes early. Sitting on a wooden park bench clutching her interview notebook, Pei Chang showed up right on schedule. He wore the same usual outfit. Faded black t-shirt, jeans, and trainers. "Have a seat." Ji Qinghe shifted over to make space for him on the bench. 30 centimeters of empty space separated them. "Where should we start?" Pei Chang asked. "Begin with your earliest memory." Pei Chang thought back. "My earliest memory. A pair of large rough hands. Large hands. Someone lifted me out of my bed and wrapped me in a stiff thick jacket. I remember the metal buttons dug into my cheek. It hurt a little." Ji Qinghe's pen paused above the page for a second. "That was the night my parents were killed on duty. The man holding me was my third uncle. He wore his field duty jacket with metal fasteners." Ji Qinghe's throat tightened. She jotted a few lines down, her pen hovering motionless over the paper before she continued writing. "How old were you when you learned your parents had died?" "I've always known. No one ever hid the truth from me. My third uncle said lying to me would only make it harder. When I turned 4, he held out a photograph and told me, 'This is your father. This is your mother. They left to carry out vital work and couldn't come home. But they loved you more than anything.' How did you react at the time?" "I cried for a little while. Then I asked my third uncle when we'd eat dinner." A shaky twitch pulled at Ji Qinghe's mouth, caught halfway between wanting to laugh and wanting to cry. What about elementary school? She pressed on. Did other kids know your story? A few classmates figured it out. They'd say he has no mom or dad. It wasn't bullying. Just childish curiosity. But I hated being surrounded and stared at like a spectacle. That's why you're wary of public media coverage about you. Exactly. I can't stand people looking at me with that pitiful poor thing expression. Ji Qinghe nodded in understanding. Silence settled between them for a while. Plane tree leaves rustled in the breeze overhead. Sunlight scattering into broken shards of gold across the grass. Do you still have photographs of your parents? Ji Qinghe asked. I do. My third uncle keeps them safe for me. One official police portrait of them together. One family photo taken when I was 1 year old. What's the family photo like? Pei Chong pictured it clearly. My mom's holding me in her arms. My dad stands beside her with one hand resting lightly on her shoulder. I'm screaming and wailing wide-mouthed. My mom's laughing. Her eyes crinkled shut. My dad. He paused for a heartbeat. My dad's looking at my mom and smiling. Ji Qinghe stopped writing entirely. Her pen rested motionless on the paper. A tiny ink blot spreading out from the tip. She lifted her gaze to meet Pei Cheng's eyes. His expression remained impassive as ever. But his right hand, the one resting on his knee, curled his fingertips inward for a split second. Then relaxed again instantly. Do you miss your mother? Ji Qinghe asked softly. Pei Chong tilted his head, staring out toward the distant plane trees. 5 long seconds passed before he spoke. I do. Just one single word. Ji Qinghe closed her interview notebook. We can wrap up for today, she said. Pei Chong glanced at her in confusion. I thought we were going to cover a lot more material. There's no rush. Tell me as much or as little as you're comfortable with. I don't have a tight publishing deadline to hit. Pei Chong nodded and stood up to leave. After walking 2 steps, he halted and glanced back over his shoulder. Your tomato and egg stir-fry went cold last time. Pardon. The day we spoke in the cafeteria. You sat across from me and left your cold stir-fry untouched. Did you skip lunch again before coming here today? Ji Qinghe froze for a beat. She truly hadn't eaten lunch. Nerves had stolen her appetite entirely.